Being that it's 9 o'clock, we'll start the meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the latest updated agenda. Any questions on the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of the previous board minute meetings from, meeting from May 20th. Is there any additions or corrections to those? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Now is for time for anybody from the public who wish to come forward and make a public comment. You can come forward and state your name and where you're from. I do recognize you.
Name is Larry Gausted. I'm the president of the Houston County Township Association Officers. We had a meeting on May 8th. And my first thing is to apologize to two of the board members. I did not get their email to our secretary fast enough, so they couldn't attend the meeting. That's Bob and Greg. We had a very lengthy meeting that night. It was mostly on a discussion of the solar stuff. It was voted on by everybody that attended. We'd like to see the commissioners put a 6-month moratorium extra on this commercial solar. It's just, once we get into this, if it goes through, there's no backing out on prime ag land. There's only so much prime ag land. It's not being built anymore. A lot of our questions have not been answered by the companies that want to do this. What's going to happen to the solar panels when their life expectancy is gone? Where do they go? Who pays for the expense of that? Is the taxes going to change on this land? Be changed from ag land to commercial? So there's a lot of things we got to discuss if we're going to change our ordinance for prime ag land. I'd just like to recommend we are against anything yet until more answers have been answered to us and to the commissioners. So it's a recommendation from us for the commissioners to extend it another 6 months till more answers
Okay.
are made. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, moving on to appointments. Allison, you want to do your EDA thing now or later?
I can do it at the end, that way the other departments don't have.
We'll do it at the end of the action items? Okay. Well, I would make them sit in and have to listen to it. Okay. Moving on to, there's no consent agenda, so moving on to action items. Consider reviewing and approving joint powers agreement for Region 1 Southeast Minnesota Homeland Security Emergency Management. Mark.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This joint powers agreement has been in place for a number of years before I was in this position, and it just came up within the last year that it needed some updates and reviews. So just for a little history on it, there's 16 counties in the southeast region that are part of this, City of Rochester and also the Prairie Prairie Island Indian community. This group has been reviewing it for about over the last year with the assistance for a senior attorney from the Olmsted County Attorney's Office, Jennifer Plant. And the agreement that's been presented to you guys has been passed around to each county's legal authority. Sue Bublitz has reviewed it for us. So just looking for you guys to approve that. And on the last page, I need to get some signatures. One will be from Sue and then one from you and the county administrator. In the updates, it's set to be reviewed every calendar year that ends in 0 or 5. So every 5 years it will be reviewed moving forward.
Okay. And the county attorney didn't have any issues?
Nope.
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Some of it was some cleanup. There's been some changes. The region actually owns some equipment that's been acquired on grants. And the region is gonna insure it instead of individual counties trying to store and insure things. So that it isn't a burden on any individual county. The region will actually take care of those expenses.
So we talk like heavy equipment or?
No, multitude of different things, but, HURT training, the hostile event response training.
Okay.
Kurt and Bob are probably a little more familiar with that, but we have a trailer full of, simunition guns and, padding, headgear, things like that. We have light towers, camera towers. You're familiar with like a portable light tower. Imagine
Yep.
putting a camera up on the mast and be able to record things. Those are the bigger ticket items. Other stuff is smaller, office space type stuff probably.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the joint powers agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Number 2, consider approving to charge the labor charge and inventory items and material rates within the 2025 fee schedule instead of the E911 address sign rate when replacing signs in bulk along roadways.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. So within the current fee schedule, there is a fee in there for E911 sign replacement. One of them is a $160 fee for going out there and doing one sign, just a sign or just a post, or $230 if you do a sign and a post. That rate was set based on figuring you're gonna get that call, or you're gonna have to do one sign here and there pretty sporadically around the county. So it's figuring that we need to have additional travel time to get there and back and to fabricate one sign at a time, not doing stuff in bulk. Also within the fee schedule is our labor rate, which is our hourly labor for the employee plus 60% markup, which is essentially the benefits for the insurance and vacation and everything else that goes into that computation. And then there's also a rate for material costs. So we charge for material plus 15%. That 15% markup on material is for the administrative process of ordering the materials and holding on to it and billing out, if you bill back to townships. So in this case, if we replace E911 signs along roadways, if we pick a roadway and do all the signs along that roadway, or at least the majority of them, it's gonna save us travel time, it's gonna save us we're gonna gain efficiencies and stuff. And we think that cost is gonna probably end up being about half of what the cost is of what our actual E911 sign fee is within the ordinance. So what I'm requesting that the board, or asking the board today, is to allow us to charge the labor rate and the material rate that's within the fee schedule instead of the E911 sign rate if we do essentially the majority of the signs along our roadway, because we'll still cover or recoup our costs, but we're not charging a bunch of extra. So and the intention of this is that way the townships can get a bunch of signs replaced and we have good E911 signs out there along the roadways, not a bunch of faded stuff that townships don't want to opt into. The plan is for this year would be to replace the signs along state highways, next year along county roadways, and then the following 2 years would be township roads.
So this adjustment would be just for the countywide sign replacement that we've been discussing?
Correct.
And alternatively, it would help save both the residents of the townships and the county residents some money?
Yes.
And Brian, this has been discussed with the townships, correct? At
This
your
board
annual
was-
meeting?
This is townships pay.
Yep, so this is brought up to townships, from what I'm hearing, the townships are, most of them are in agreement. There's at least one township that would like to opt out and not do it this year. And then there's, another one that's talked about maybe, wanting to install the signs themselves, if we could fabricate the signs. But, for both of those townships, nothing is set in stone yet. We'd like to go back and tell the townships, here's what we can do for you. And then this is also something maybe we want to tell the townships, this is your one and only opportunity. If you don't want to do this now, when we're doing all the other roadways, we're gonna need to charge you the higher rate at a later date.
So you charge the township charges the farmer?
If they want to charge the landowners, they can.
Oh, wait, the county doesn't do that.
The county charges
The
the
township.
townships, and then townships, if they want to, they can pass that
Right, but
cost
the
on.
county won't bill the township residents.
Correct,
It'll be billing the township itself.
yes.
But doing it this way would save the townships substantial.
Yeah, it'll cut
It
the
would.
cost about in half.
Yep, it would be a good deal for the townships to do it this way. And we encourage them to do that.
Got many townships on board?
I think the majority of them are,
You just mentioned that one wanted to hold off,
yes.
right?
Yep, and that one township that wants to hold off, they only have a few address points along the state highway anyway, so it'll have pretty minimal impact for this year, and hopefully over the next year, we can get them on board. And we will definitely go out to all the townships involved and let them know before we go and do it that, hey, we're gonna do this, here's your letter and your notice, and we'll start getting signs put up.
Definitely sounds more efficient to do them as you can in one area at a time
Right.
rather than randomly. That's gonna cost more.
The cost savings, I mean, that's huge. I'll make a motion then to go ahead with this 911 addressing sign and replacing
At the reduced fee.
at the reduced fee. You want anything else in there?
Yeah, as long as we're using those rates, like I said, they're already rates that are within the fee schedule, so.
Is there a
Makes sense,
second?
Allison? I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, consider approving a CUP to build a manure storage structure with a capacity of over 20,000 gallons in Caledonia Township.
Good morning. This was actually, back in April. Bob Ellens had brought forward a conditional use permit request to do his liquid manure storage structure. We ended up having to go through the variance process as well due to a couple dwellings that were close, and that just took place last month, and so we just sat on this, until that could be completed. So that's why this one is delayed.
So the variance was, it was approved?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the CUP to build the manure storage. Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Number 4, consider a CUP for James and Susanna Gulbertson to build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in Agricultural Protection District in Spring Grove Township.
Yes, so then the following hearings here are gonna be from this month. All non-farm dwellings, this particular one is in Spring Grove Township. They do, this one isn't necessarily your typical dwelling. They were looking for more of a cabin type use. But because they're gonna run electric and also go over the 400 square feet, this was permitted as a dwelling rather than a cabin.
What's the square footage?
650 is what they're proposing.
So if the CUP is granted, then that's when you will look at the building permit
Correct.
and look at their driveway, have Spring Grove Township approve their approach or whatever, and electrical, all that?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the CUP?
Was there any, I guess I have one question, was there any objections when you had the,
We did have, there was one letter submitted with that request from a neighbor, just kind of asking questions, and that's pretty typical. The notices that go out just show the general parcel and a general explanation of what the request is. So he was sent the board packet or requested that after that was complete, but then they were present as well to express further concerns. And mostly, of which it sounded, they run more of a commercial operation, and they were concerned that this would potentially impact the atmosphere that they have at their existing facility. But they do meet all of the requirements, and non-farm dwellings are a conditional use in the ag district. So in looking at the proposal at hand, I don't think that there's anything to deny based on the concerns that were brought forward.
They said most of their questions were answered when they looked at the packet, so most of their concerns were addressed. As far as the view part, it'd be a long ways from their property, so that shouldn't be a concern as well, so.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side of the quarter from where they're at.
It's a ways away.
And there was another adjacent neighbor who, understandably so, brought up the fact that this would be removing his ability to build. And we've treated these as first come, first serve applications in the past. And since they have submitted their application, both the CUP and the building permit, a month or so ago, they are holding that spot. He did, upon receiving this and some of the things that happened, he did come in and submit a building permit application, I guess for all transparency. But this application came in first.
Is there a motion to approve the CUP? I'll make that a motion to approve the CUP, because it's, by ordinances, everything's sufficient. Is there a second to that motion?
everything being in order, I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Just to comment that then anything else that was addressed as far as electrical lines or driveway concerns will be vetted through upon further work with this person that's building, right?
When she issues the
Correct, yeah.
building permit, yep.
That stuff will be administratively reviewed.
That sounds good.
Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right,
Motion approved. Number 5, consider a CUP for Miranda and Luke Schutelhelm. Is that how you pronounce that?
I should have asked them, but
I think there's
To build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in the Agricultural Protection District in Money Creek Township.
So this is another standard non-farm dwelling request. They've met all the requirements of the ordinance as far as proposing it on marginal soils, and going through, obviously, the conditional use permit process now, so. They are ready to roll upon approval.
Yep, it's pretty straightforward CUP. And they have access through her
yes.
father's property for ingress, egress. So,
Motion to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
Any other further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, number 6, consider approving a CUP for Brooke Johnson to build a dwelling on less than 40 acres in agricultural protection district in Money Creek Township.
So this proposal is a little unique in that when they permitted the structure, I believe a couple years ago, it was actually permitted as a farm dwelling, because at that point in time, it was on 100+ acres. And so they did everything appropriately at that time. And I guess had I known that the intent was to eventually split this off, I would have asked them to go through this process initially. But anyway, the dwelling is actually standing at this point, and she just came in for a garage permit to actually complete that portion of her project. And having found that the split took place just a couple months after the structure was permitted, I required her to go through the conditional use permit process. And so that is, as you may have noticed, some of her applications reference constructing a garage. That is why it is being referenced that way, is because that's what drove the review and the need for bringing the parcel into compliance.
It's attached?
Yeah. Yeah, she was just trying to break up the project and get the house out of the way first, and now is coming in for the garage.
house is done.
The house is done. And it does actually meet all the non-farm dwelling requirements. Like I said, they just, at the time it was permitted, it was on 40+ acres, so it wasn't required to be a conditional use. But that split took place just a couple months after the dwelling was permitted.
So by clearing this up and getting a CUP, then she can move forward in building the garage.
Correct.
Yep.
Motion to approve the CUP.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Number 7, consider extending the interim solar ordinance by 6 months as recommended by the planning commission.
So I caught the tail end of Larry's discussion here today, and then it's kind of been expressed to me in the last month or so that we should look at extending this moratorium just to allow us to, or allow for the tail end of the project here to not feel so rushed. And I guess I was talking to someone on Friday, and I think it probably is a good idea in looking at the cannabis ordinance, and now that we're actually to the point where we are applying some of that and reviewing things, I think it would be a good idea to slow the process down and make sure that we are going through it thoroughly, because there are areas in that where it's like, well, I wish we would have maybe thought about that a little bit more and maybe clarified some things. But that is, he said, the planning commission did talk about this after our hearing on Thursday night, which I thought went very well. We had a lot of good input from our cooperative provider and a developer, and then from some members of the public. And ultimately, there's a lot of questions and some things we need to look into, but we didn't move forward on any recommendation on a proposal. But they did ask that we potentially look at extending this moratorium 6 months. That would bring it to what would be a year, which is what we could have done initially. And granted, you don't need to take that long, but that is what the planning commission, I guess, recommended to the board. That was the only action from that night.
Go ahead.
I attended the meeting just as an observer for the public input, and definitely the same concerns that Larry Gosta just mentioned too, as far as the prime farmland location was raised by number of people from the public, as far as, you know, how is this going to affect a lot of questions as far as the development and what's going to happen in the future with the prime farmland. So I thought it was a very good session. The room is packed. So that gives us a good indication that there's a lot of people that have some concerns, and they're just starting to learn more about this, and they want to know, some firm answers before we move forward.
And I will say, like, the prime farmland is one area that, from what I've found, a lot of counties don't address.
Yeah.
So that is something we're going to be writing from scratch if we want to pursue a regulation in regards to that.
I also heard some concerns about changing our plan after it's just been adopted in the last 2 years, so that.
The comprehensive land
The
use.
comprehensive land use plan, yeah. So that was stressed in that as well.
Is 6 months necessary, or would 3 months be adequate, or why the 6 month?
I think it was just because that would bring us to the year that you initially could have put in place.
Moratorium for a year.
Could have or needed is, I guess, you know, I just don't like the idea of a moratorium just to have a moratorium. I want to see what the progress will be.
Are we doing a moratorium on all the farmers and everything, or is this just gonna be on the commercial people?
It's only on commercial.
On the commercial, so like the farmers can still keep, and people building houses can put up 3, 4 panels.
Yep.
Build their house. That won't stop any of that.
Nope.
Okay, it's just on the commercial
Yep.
that you wanna have the moratorium on. That's 25 acres and more?
Just anything over, well, I guess we didn't put a limit on acreage. It was just something that's used for primary use as commercial of the site, or power to go back to the grid, not accessory to a building is how it's worded.
You're still permitting small, private solar arrays.
Correct.
This moratorium just addresses the commercial side of it. And so,
Yeah, we don't wanna shut down our whole county on building and everything like that.
no, this is just for this commercial solar sake, and I think
For
it's,
commercial.
yep, and I think it's something we need to make sure we get it right and study it. There's a lot of questions and things we gotta think about, what the consequences of any decisions that we make. As Amelia brought up about the cannabis ordinance, we struggled to get that one through. It was a tough one, and that's starting from scratch, but now we're starting to see things as things come in that, oh, I guess we didn't think of that, you know, so, yeah, I think we should do our due diligence here and take our time and look at this. Take our time.
I would definitely support extending it 6 months, just because, you know, for the fact that we need to make sure that it's right in the proposal that we have. And that's also the feedback that we've gotten from the public. They have a lot of questions, and they want to know that we've done our research and make sure that we have a plan for the future. And I think if we just keep whittling away and say 2 more months or 3 more months or something like that, we're just going to be revisiting this again. So I would like to leave that time open, which is a normal time for a moratorium of a year. And it was shortened last time. I also want to just mention that, you know, I'm a believer that the county should make decisions and ordinances, changes or enact ordinances based on the need for the whole, not a specific project. And I think that's probably what was in mind when this was proposed last year. So it was a time commitment to get a project done. But, you know, we, as a county, don't need to have ordinances geared towards a specific request. It should be for the whole
Countywide.
countywide.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Want to make that a motion?
I made that a motion, yes, nice.
Is there a second to that motion?
Everything I said there, Allison.
Is there a second to the motion to extend the moratorium 6 months?
I'll make that second based off of the people that I've talked to in my district. It is also the majority's recommendation from my district, so I will make that second.
Okay. Any further discussion? I think we'll have roll call.
District 1,
Yes.
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Number 8, consider approving guardianship contact with Clinton Brainerd. John.
Good morning. So a couple weeks ago, the board had some questions about the process for background checks for those that we do contracts for guardianship and conservatorship. And I didn't have the answer right off the top of my head, so I have the answer now. So I'm gonna just go through that briefly with you. And essentially, we are part of a process when it comes to guardianship and conservatorship. Through our work with different clients, we may come to a point where we believe it's in their interest to have somebody serve on their behalf as a guardian or conservator. And so we will work to find somebody who could potentially do that. And we give them a packet and the information they need to do a background check. But we don't manage that background check. That goes through court admin. So court admin pulls those pieces together and we work with the county attorney and bring a motion to court or a petition. And the judge is the one who grants the guardianship or conservatorship. So in the process of us kind of getting started with a new person, we get that contract process going too, but we don't ever have a guardian who is providing that service who hasn't completed that background check. That would not make it through court. So there's pieces that we don't have control of. We start the process but don't have control over all those pieces. The other thing I'd say is the majority of these contracts that I bring to you periodically are long-term agreements that we've had with people who have done guardianship or conservatorship for us for a very long time. So anyway, so that's what I learned. I apologize I didn't have that at top of my mind when we were discussing this a couple weeks ago. Any questions with regard to that?
So we're just actually approving the MOA, agreement.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're approving the contract.
Right.
So, because we have a responsibility to pay for those who are, I guess the term would be indigent or typically MA eligible. So there's others who have guardianships and conservatorships that don't come through the county, we're not involved in. But this has to do with clients that we have that are MA eligible.
How many years have you been working for the county?
This particular person, since 2007, I believe. Our contracts are every 2 years, and the background check cycle is every 5 years. So every 5 years, you need to get your background check done again.
Questions I brought up have been answered, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
All right, one other thing, if I could just mention, kind of a reminder that there's our joint Board of Health meeting today.
Yep.
And part of that at the very end, it won't be part of the Community Health Board meeting, but Allison will be there to have a discussion about some housing opportunities in cooperation with Fillmore County. So the idea was having both counties together is a good time to talk about that. Related to housing dollars we both receive and potentially working with the Bluff Country HRA in how we use those dollars more effectively, so. And in, kind of in concert with Fillmore County.
Okay.
So when you see that on the agenda, you'll know what that is. All right.
Sounds good,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
You bet.
Number 9, consider approving a MOA with an American Federation of State and County and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO Local Union Number 2166, Council 65, for revisions to the 2025-2027 collective bargaining agreement, including job titles, county attorney, legal assistant, network administrator, and network help desk technician.
Good morning.
Morning.
So back when this, bargaining agreement was being negotiated, there was a law still that was in place that there's certain employees or job titles that can't enter in collective bargaining agreements. And at that time, it was the county attorneys, legal assistants, and then also our, IT folks that we have. Since then, the state of Minnesota has changed that they.
Could be, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The state of Minnesota has changed that they are now allowed to be part of a collective bargaining agreement. And with an AFSCME contract, they automatically fall under the umbrella of AFSCME. So this came from AFSCME and MOA basically acknowledging the fact that they are now covered under the AFSCME union, and they are just getting absorbed up into that contract. And that wording basically means that the next time that contract comes around, their job titles will be listed also in that contract.
Yeah, I should make that clear. It's the county attorney administrative legal assistant, not the county attorney itself.
Correct, or the county attorney, assistant county attorneys. It's just the legal assistants and then also our two network
IT.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I had to call Brent just to get clarification on this, so he explained it like he just did now, so.
Yeah, and also, just to also point out too, this does not include the IT director, so he is not a part of this, just his staff that are in that, so.
All right,
And it's an existing union,
Yep,
not an additional one.
all right.
yes. Alrighty.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thanks, Brent. Number 10, consider reviewing and approving payments. Everybody had a chance to look at the payments? Is there any questions or is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. You want to do your presentation now, Allison, or?
We have questions. Anybody else? Right.
Okay.
Save the best for last.
The very last, okay.
Question.
Yes.
A concerned person emailed me asking when the fly-in breakfast was at the airport. And I said I would find that out today.
Last Sunday of June.
There's your answer, Brent.
Oh,
Last Sunday of June.
convenient.
So you can fly in and come to it.
From Iowa.
So you can fly in and come to it.
Okay, that's all I needed.
Yeah. Administrator updates. Carol?
There's so much, but there's, just waiting
You
on,
got time, it's early yet.
waiting to find out, when a special session will be held, so we can find out a little bit more on, any costs that we're going to have to absorb. We had the finance committee meeting this morning, so we went through, next week I'll be presenting budget amendments to kind of take into consideration more of the settlements of the union contracts, changes in employee elections of benefits and new hires and different things like that. The highway department has some budget amendments for the approvals that you did for shifting money. There was additional from the state. What else did we talk about? Budget amendments? Anyway, in order to,
Changing some fee schedule stuff.
okay, that's, yeah, down the, down the road here. So,
Preliminary.
we'll also be looking at our fund balance and how it kind of plays out once we have the audited 2023, and we can add the 2024 activity to see where we're at from there, if it's absorbing the additional salary budgets that we'll be putting in place, because we did have a balanced budget, so any changes, increases is going to mean fund balance usage.
Cause we approved we budgeted a 6%
And we.
versus a 6.5.
And a half, and there's a few other additional things that play into the contracts.
Yep, some
Yeah.
other expenses.
Some of the other things. We talked about the fee schedule changes. We'll be having a public hearing after the UTV ordinance hearing on the last Tuesday of the month to deal with new fees. We don't need to have a hearing for existing fees to increase them, but we do for new fees. So we've got the cannabis fees, we'll have the UTV, if that's what the board wants to do, for that. Brian had a couple different fees that he was going to add. The auditor's office has been reviewing their list of fees and feel that we could probably increase some of them. So before that meeting, we'll put together a schedule of what's new and what will be increasing and the effect that would have on our budgets.
Okay.
There's always things going on.
Yep. Well, like you said, the special session hasn't been called yet, I don't believe, but they're gonna be, got a lot of work to do to figure that out, so. Cost shifts, we don't know what they will be yet.
Do not.
We don't know what our county program aid will be yet, so.
No, so that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Board updates. We had a land use meeting this morning. I'll let Bob, give a report on that. It was brought up about the auditor's office looking at new fees for, parcel splits and stuff like that we don't charge for, so. And it sounds like Carol's in on that and knows about that, and that'll be coming up. Said it was mentioned we had joint Board of Health this afternoon, 1:00. I just have a question.
Community center, correct?
In Mabel.
Yeah.
Yep. I just have a question. I know we went and reviewed, or we went to look at the, Able Building here in Caledonia for a possible building for public health. And I guess I'm trying to figure out, what are we trying to accomplish by looking into that? Is there some efficiencies to be gained with that, or what are everybody's thoughts on that? Maybe nobody has any thoughts on it yet, but.
I think it's kind of preliminary as far as, what operational cost, any leasing costs as opposed to where they currently are now. I believe it came up from the board a few weeks ago, and John investigating the availability of other sites that would accommodate some of the changes that we were unable to make from the remodeling efforts because of the funding, the federal funding being cut. So from my standpoint, it's very preliminary until we get some numbers and we find out, what the bottom line is, if it would be a cost-effective move or not.
Okay.
That's what I have.
I think it was kind of agreed that we would pull the information together and talk about it at the work group session. Yeah.
Well, that's my main question is what are we trying to solve here? What is our trying to accomplish by doing this? So
Well,
something we need to think about.
I think we're growing out of the Meyer building, and I think we have no parking there, and it's just, I mean, it's too small. I think we should sell that, and we should look at able to, maybe we can get more stuff in that building, and we're not gonna grow out of that one for a while. There's a lot of room out there. I mean, we are growing, we don't wanna spend 8 million on this building and fix this up and get everybody here. I don't think that's a good move. And if we're gonna grow out of Meyer building, Able sitting empty, it's something like you guys said, let's get some figures and look at it. See what it's gonna cost. Because Meyer building, we're just throwing money into a dead horse.
Well, we were just gonna do that.
I know,
We were just gonna spend,
I know, but now there's a better chance.
we're gonna spend taxpayer money on fixing it up.
I know, well,
Grant that wasn't received, so.
Still taxpayer money.
yeah, it's still taxpayer money.
Absolutely. But I think it was being done for purpose.
Right.
There's a reason, right?
That's all I wanted to know. Commissioner Myrie, you got a report?
No, not much. Went to the land use meeting there, the hearing the other night, and that's about all I got.
Commissioner Schultz?
Oh, like you said, we had our land use this morning. You kind of hit the part there on the highway.
You got the numbers on the
Yeah,
flagpole?
yeah, do you want to get into that here
Yeah.
or work group?
Well, we could have a discussion about it.
It was in our notes, but not on the agenda, that the highway department brought up, was it last month, about the flagpole? And it was reported to us that it would be an additional total expense of right around $5,000 with the electrical update, the install, the purchasing of the pole, and the purchasing of the initial flags. Brian estimated that it'd be approximately $300 a year for the replacement of the flags and electrical use, and he's gonna bring that to us. Rock solid numbers to consider.
Yep.
That was one of the things there. They talked about the sand pole motor, that they're looking at some possible expenses coming up there with a starter issue and possibly some bearings. We're looking at the possibility of the updates to the front door for
At the highway building,
highway building for the
automatic door openers.
ADA compliances, et cetera. Other than that, we talked, like you said, about some different upcoming fees that'll be addressed at the fee schedule hearings, so. Productive meeting. Other than that, I've got, our, meeting this afternoon in Mabel as well. Then you and I get to go to Brownsville after that for a meeting with the highway department and the state and the city to look at options upcoming down there.
For the intersection.
23 and the highway. So that should be an interesting one.
Still looking at a roundabout?
I can't answer that.
Oh, we got something secret going on or what?
I won't know till the meeting, so.
I want to throw it out there if
It's one of the three options.
And, after that, I get to go to a snowmobile club meeting I got invited to tonight too again, so.
Well,
5 or 6 meetings today.
that reminds me, we have our district meetings coming up too. I believe it's in June here of, what is the date on those?
the second
I think it's the second, yep,
in Lake City.
in Lake City, yep. And that's we're gonna have a discussion on some agreements, proposals that Goodhue County is considering for the snowmobile clubs. So we'll see what they got and have a discussion about it. So. Commissioner Zender,
Good.
you good? Nothing to
Right
add?
this minute.
All right,
Good finance this morning. That went splendid.
we're spot on for budget and all that
Oh
good
my
stuff.
God, we're probably have so much money, I don't know what to do with it all.
Really?
Not true.
Jesus. What changed in that last year?
Oh, wishful thinking.
Because the commissioners are going to forego their salaries.
Oh, okay.
I did
Sounds like a deal.
didn't make that decision for you guys. I apologize.
There you go.
That bothers you guys. I'm just trying to help the county out.
Could get us a little heads up, wouldn't hurt.
Tried
It's not
that.
gonna go into effect till January.
That's right. Oh, my
Tried
goodness.
that once, didn't work, but anyway. Commissioner Wright,
Actually doesn't work.
no.
Yeah, there's certain rules. Yeah, like you mentioned that, we have a district meeting, District 9 meeting. I don't know if anybody else is going to Lake City on June 2nd in the morning. There's also groundwater protection and soil health initiative, session, local topics during that time that I'm interested in. Let's see, in addition to our health meeting, I have Selco today. Again, another quarterly meeting in Rochester. And then,
You have that today too?
yeah, later today.
Late, okay.
Later, after 5 o'clock, so we're good. So, let's see, what else was I gonna mention? Oh, I've been kind of trying to finish up all of my department head meetings. And after at least 6 months of getting to know the staff a little bit better and the inner workings of each department in the county, rounding that up hopefully by July. I don't think there's anything else that I want to share today. It's fine.
Very good.
I'll bring up one more thing. Brian, is there any updates on airport project and do we need to meet again for that?
For the hangar project?
Yes.
We're still waiting on FAA funding, so
Okay.
there's additional work with how they want the funding split being submitted.
So we don't need to have another meeting on that for a little while anyway?
No, next thing will be hangar fees.
Perfect. Once we move a little farther forward here. There you go, Greg.
How about the fencing? Around Chuck's, we talked about that. Did we do anything there?
That is on my list. I've had a little bit of discussion. We're gonna submit for some state grant funding for it that we can always submit for on our own if we want.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Now we can get our EDA report.
One other comment is that Brian did have the flagpole discussion. It should have been on the agenda. I put it in the packet and did not put it on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Do that next week.
Sorry, that was my, I had an unexpected visitor when I was working on that and so that's my bad.
All right, come up here for a microphone. So we are going to go over our Houston County Economic Development Authority annual report from 2024. I always try to pick a shorter meeting to do this. There's a lot of information in the report, so I will go pretty quickly, but then we can answer any questions at the end. Everyone knows technology does not like me and I don't like it, but you should have these and there should be a few extras laying around if anyone wants to follow along. So just a brief introduction, a lot of what the Houston County EDA does is just the day-to-day work with our businesses, depending on what that may be. The EDA has also always focused on larger, bigger initiatives that help a variety of our communities and businesses just throughout the county. So Moving on to the next page, some 2024 highlights. We approved 3 EDA loans in 2024 totaling $101,000. These were administering a $30,000 loan to Brian and Tracy Knutson. They're the owners of 138 South Kingston Street in Caledonia. The total project cost was $158,163. And funds were used to rehab the building for a new market and deli business called Frank and Julia's. And that should be opening this month. The project created 2 full-time jobs with 1 part-time job, and it has the possibility of adding more in the future. Next, we administered a $52,000 loan to Green Terrace Properties, LLC, who are the owners of 809 Cedar Street in Houston, Minnesota. The total project cost was $520,000, and funds were used to purchase the building to operate an inn. This was an exciting project. That particular inn had been on the market for some time, and the project retained 1 full-time job. We also approved a $19,000 loan to Root River Market Cooperative, and that is located at 119 East Cedar Street in Houston, Minnesota. They will be using that to purchase a new walk-in freezer. They have not yet received everything for the freezer, and the project is not finished, so we actually have not paid that out yet, but that will be coming here in 2025. And that project retained 2 full-time jobs, and they have 13 part-time jobs. So we do have a revolving loan fund. We currently have, or at the end of 2024, we had 13 active loans. And at the end of 2024, the cash on hand that we had available to lend was $413,000.24. So we have a good amount to loan out. So if you know of a business that is starting or expanding, please send them our way. We'd love to have a conversation with them to see if we can help them. Moving on to the next page, now that COVID is behind us, knock on wood, we've started having a few more events. These were really common before the pandemic, but one of the events we did this year was an entrepreneurial event, and this was in partnership with Ignite Minnesota and also Caledonia Forward. We had a guest entrepreneur panel that featured business owners from Caledonia at a variety of stages in their business journey. And then we invited entrepreneurs from all over Houston County. It was a really well-attended event. Yeah, so that was one of those. On the next page, we talk about the Bluff Country Collaborative. So you hear about the Bluff Country Collaborative, or BCC, a lot. This is a partnership between the Houston County EDA, Fillmore County EDA, area schools, including all Houston County school districts, over 100 businesses, workforce development, Perkins Consortium, and the Southeast Service Cooperative. We want to make sure to give a shout out for all of our partners there. Workforce Development Incorporated is the fiscal agent for this, and through that they pay all with money that we fundraise for throughout the year, and we get partnership contributions for throughout the year. But we use that money to pay Mary Ann Smith. She's our youth workforce navigator. She does a great job. On the back of this report is the full BCC report with numbers. We think it's very impressive. This initiative just continues to expand. A lot of you have heard about our 2 capstone events. So one is the CTE event that we do in Caledonia at the beginning of the school year every year. That is an exploratory event where students are encouraged to come. It's usually mandatory. We usually get around 600 students attending the event. And the goal of that event is to have students explore as many career opportunities as possible. So they have a little passport, they go around, they meet with a variety of businesses, and they get to do a lot of hands-on things at that event. We also have a big capstone event towards the end of the school year, which is an actual hiring event where businesses come. We hold it at the La Crescent Area Event Center, and this is where students come ready to go with their resume. They might be looking for full, part-time, or seasonal jobs. But in between there, we do a lot of other things. We have guest speakers. We help set up internships, externships. Marianne is actually at each of the schools. She may work with the teachers at one school, the counselors at another school. She does a lot of one-on-one coaching with students. Basically, whatever the individual school needs, she is there to help with career readiness. And we're really proud of this. It's always a struggle every year to get enough funding. But last year, we got to use 2 grants. One was a state grant and one was a national Gen Z grant. That was really competitive, but we made it into the final round and we got $18,000 from that. And the whole reason for the BCC is just to introduce students to career opportunities right in their own backyard, and we definitely know it's working. It's very hard to track, but we're getting better, and we know that students really are getting hired because of a connection or an experience they had with the BCC, and then they're staying with the BCC, they're working in Houston or Fillmore County. And when they work here, they're more likely to stay here, to live here, to build here, to support our other businesses, and to go to our schools. So that is a little bit about the Bluff Country Collaborative. On the next page, we have our housing initiative. You all will hear more about this afternoon at the Joint Board of Health meeting, but we established a Houston County core team in partnership with Houston County Public Health and many local partners, including city leaders, local EDAs, SEMCAC, Habitat for Humanity, local realtors, and others to study and address housing needs in Houston County. This really started because John's department received some housing money for the first time for affordable housing, and we wanted to make sure to make the best use of those dollars. So you'll find out more about this afternoon. One possibility we've been researching is setting up a local housing trust fund or working with the Bluff Country HRA, and there are, of course, other opportunities as well. So we'll discuss that this afternoon. We continue to have our farming initiative. So the goal of this is just to help farmers try new things both on and off the farm. The EDA's goal is to get to know farmers, develop plans based on their individual interests and needs, and help them adapt so they can be successful. We have the Houston Area Preservation Initiative. We're coming to the end of the second grant that this group has received, also known as HAPPY. HAPPY is a 501c3 organization, and the purpose is to preserve historic property for use as community arts, culture, history, and educational areas for residents in Houston County and visitors alike. We're currently restoring and renovating 301 Maple Street in Houston. And again, we're getting to the end of the second grant. So we are hoping that after that, the grant money was used to work with the consultant, and we're hoping to get the property on the State Historic Registry. So there's that. Root River Trail expansion. Larry Kirch has come and talked to the board before from the Crescent. He really leads these meetings, and then our EDA staff is there to support this work. We're continuing to work to try to expand the Root River Trail system. And the committee applied to several grants in 2024 that we're still waiting to hear back on. This was inspired in part by the opening of the Wagon Wheel Trail Bridge in the Crescent. We currently have a memorandum of agreement to jointly cooperate, but we are looking at putting in place another agreement so that if and when we receive money, we're set up to use that money. Keep Company co-working space. We still have the co-working space in the Crescent, Minnesota. In 2024, we entered into a partnership with Lansing Works, which is a co-working space in Lansing, Iowa. So they're now our sister space. So when they get full or we get full, we can send folks one way or another. This project started as a partnership between the Houston County EDA, the City of La Crescent, and the Crescent Chamber. And it was supported by all Houston County chambers and businesses in each of Houston County's communities. So that basically they have extra space, and if someone is looking for another space to work out of and they want a little company, that is what that is all about. 2025 goals. Basically want to continue doing what we're doing and strengthen a lot of partnerships we have. One of the things on the list is to update and redo the Houston County EDA website, but we need to find some money to do that first, so tried and have not been successful thus far, but that will come. But yeah, just kind of continue doing what we're doing. So that is, in a nutshell, some of what the EDA works on. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Childcare initiative.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that because that is an important one. Okay. So we have continued to work with the Houston County Child Care Core Team. The commissioners allocated $255,000 worth of ARPA dollars to go towards training, a grant program that we've now put in place, and just educating the community. WDI is the fiscal agent for that. So I'm really glad you pointed this out, Commissioner Johnson. So the big thing that we want to highlight is that grant program that we have. With the grant program, we've so far, this is just in 2024, and actually we've had 2 applications now in 2025. But in 2024 alone, we helped preserve 121 slots in Houston County, and we also helped create 2 new slots. So the cost per slot was $16,000 to preserve the 121 slots, $4,000 preserve the 10 new slots, so that's $153 per slot. And if you look at other communities that are doing similar things, our method is actually really cost effective. So if there's a provider that wants to start in Houston County or a current provider that needs any facility updates in order to operate, definitely send them our way. We have had one childcare business that has been kind of a return customer for the grant, which has been fine. Initially, we helped her with an egress window that she needed to open, and now she has found out that she needs a radon mitigation system, so we're gonna help her with that as well. So that grant is still out there. I tried to get a final number before the meeting today. I haven't received it from WDI, but there's plenty of money in there still. So if anyone is interested in that. We did recently also have a new home daycare open in Spring Grove. So this grant has been a great thing, but of course, you know, the Spring Grove Center did close. So we've been working a lot with the city of Spring Grove and their EDA, and we've been in contact with Gina on that situation. And then we've also used a lot of the money to provide free training for providers. We did some first aid and CPR trainings in partnership with the city of La Crescent. We've also offered a fine motor skills development training, or just if any provider comes to us and says, I either need this training or people that work for me do, we have been paying for those. Our core team also had a field trip day where they visited a variety of facilities and models. One of the models that we looked into is the nonprofit model, because that allows a center that's a nonprofit to qualify for some additional grants that they wouldn't if they were just a private business. And members from the core team have been attending career fairs and working more with the schools. Mary Ann, who I just talked about through the BCC, has been coming to our core team meetings and is now a part of the Bluff Country Collaborative, the Child Care Initiative as well, representing the Bluff Country Collaborative.
So, like the training that we're helped pay for and the window, the radon, that's in the 16K preserved. That's where that number comes from?
Yep, the 16K actually does not include any training.
Oh,
So
okay.
this bottom part is just about the grant. So far, if we count up the slots, and we helped preserve 121 slots
Right.
and created 10 new slots. And then since then, we've had 2 more applications here in 2025.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be a 3-year program, so we're right on track with that.
All right.
It's a huge need.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll be interesting to see about the nonprofit thing, if that'll work, so. Alrighty,
Thank you.
thank you, you're doing a good job. Is there any closing public comment? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Is there a second?
No, we don't wanna go. Second.
Oh, I was just gonna call for another one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Thank you.